Hi, my name is Phoebe, and I'm a PhD candidate in informatics at UC Irvine and an affiliated Harvard's Berkman Klein Center. I'm excited to present our paper that explores how PhD students at elite universities experience the hiring process of large tech companies. We know that graduates from elite universities enjoy high employment rates. However, these hiring outcomes do not tell the full story of how students from different social class backgrounds experience the hiring process. Previous ACM scholarship has begun to address this research question by focusing on how applicants from non-elite universities apply for jobs. They find that applicants who lack insider resources, such as individualized attention from company employees, are confused about how to prepare for interviews. As a result, they report feeling more stressed and they performed worse than those with access to such resources. But generally missing in this scholarship, as well as the broader literature on sociology and hiring, is an investigation of how applicants with high educational levels and strong structural support from elite universities navigate prestigious labor markets. Therefore, our research looks at whether and how students leverage resources and navigate elite hiring contexts in the same way. In particular, this paper explores the following research questions. First, do working and middle-class students receive exposure to the same resources, for example, social connections and awareness of the tacit hiring expectations, as their upper middle-class peers? Second, what are upper middle-class and working and middle-class students' experiences of leveraging these resources and navigating elite hiring contexts? To address these research questions, we interviewed 31 applicants twice, once during their internship interview process and once after they received news about their application status. All applicants were PhD students in computer science at elite universities and were applying for internship positions at large tech companies in the States. The interview topics revolved around understanding their experiences of learning about and applying for internships. After completing the data collection process, we conducted an inductive thematic analysis of the interviewed data. Both scholars and society assume that PhD students at elite institutions have made it. Our findings suggest that this belief is true to some degree. We find that all applicants, regardless of their social class backgrounds, enjoy similar rates of getting internship offers. They also display an understanding of the tacit expectations surrounding the hiring process. First, applicants emphasize the value of reaching out to social networks to learn more about internship opportunities. Second, applicants describe the importance of being collegial and collaborative with the interviewers during the interviews. However, we find that applicants' emotional responses and tactics to meet these expectations vary along social class lines. In line with past sociological works on social class, our data suggests that the majority of upper middle class applicants adopt the value of being at ease with crossing social hierarchy. These applicants seem at ease with relying on connections, facilitating casual conversations with interviewers, and using direct help-seeking strategies. On the other hand, many working and middle-class applicants describe embracing the value of deferring to social hierarchy. These applicants describe wanting to respect the time and energy of their social connections and to show respect to interviewers. They also report preferring to use indirect help-seeking strategies. In this presentation, I'll focus on how applicants' class-based values figure into their experiences of leveraging social connections. We find that upper middle-class applicants' value of being at ease with crossing social hierarchy manifests in their reported comfort with leveraging connections to learn more about internship opportunities. Most upper middle-class applicants described cold emailing individuals as particularly valuable. Kyle explained, "I'm a big fan of cold emailing people. It's low cost with high returns. My parents always said, you should always email people in higher positions of power. There's no downside. And I've learned to agree that there's really no downside." Like many upper middle class applicants in our study, Kyle explained that their parents coached them to capitalize on this support-seeking tactic from an early age. As a result, they described having a sense of ease with reaching out to both close connections, that is professors, and distant contacts, that is acquaintances and strangers with overlapping interests. The majority of upper middle class applicants explained using their connections and informational interviews to find internship opportunities that align with their interests. For example, Julie described her general internship search process. "I'll do coffee chats. 9 times out of 10, it stopped after the coffee chat. Like, it was great to chat, but I'm not interested. The rest of the time, it's helpful for figuring out what they're looking for. That helps when I'm interviewing. When asked where she learned this application tactic, Julie credited her mother. My mom's a hiring manager and I learned it from her. She ingrained in me the importance of personal connections. She'll say things like, get coffee with people at companies you're interested in. Not in a get me a job way, but just asking what the company is doing so you know if it's a good fit for you. As a whole, we observe how upper middle class applicants' class-based value of being at ease with crossing social hierarchy manifests in their comfort with reaching out to close and distant connections, as well as requesting informational interviews. By contrast, working and middle class applicants often describe being less comfortable with reaching out to their social networks, even though they know that this is integral to playing the hiring game. In line with their value of deferring to social hierarchy, they emphasize being respectful about, rather than being at ease with, asking connections for job search assistance. Most working and middle-class applicants share concerns that their requests might burden their contacts, and they express a desire to build up a certain amount of social credit with a person before reaching out. Noel said, I'm uncomfortable asking favors out of the blue from people I'm not close with. I find it more natural to get back in touch and maybe find an opportunity to help them out first. Noel continued, my parents definitely raised me to be a respectful person. I value building more of a relationship and helping others first before asking something of them. Here we observe the contrast between how upper middle class and working and middle class applicants experience the job search process. While upper middle class applicants generally did not express their reservations around reaching out to distant connections, working and middle class applicants regularly talked about how much time and energy they put into considering whether it would be appropriate to email a contact. Although working and middle class applicants largely reported being uncomfortable with informally reaching out to strangers, they frequently use these more formal networking opportunities when an implicit invitation was extended. For example, Lydia applied first, then leveraged the connection that became apparent on social media. She said, some guy said on Twitter that his team was hiring. I emailed him if I should apply and he said yes. I filled out my application 2 months ago and didn't hear back. But when I edited the application saying, I want to work with this guy, they replied the next day, we're happy to schedule an interview. Like Lydia, many working and middle class applicants reported being respectful of distant contacts' time by only asking them for application support if they actively signal their openness to such requests. Our findings advance scholars' understanding of the unique challenges that working and middle class applicants face when navigating the hiring process. Current CSCW and sociological literature on hiring suggests that working and middle-class job seekers face difficulties getting referrals and insider coaching because they do not have the social connections at the company. Our research adds nuance to this argument. While working and middle-class applicants in our study describe knowing people at prestigious companies, many report feeling uncomfortable asking them for favors if they are merely acquaintances. We thus observe that working and middle-class applicants' hesitancy around tapping their professional networks may not stem from a lack of resources. Instead, this hiring expectation is grounded in upper middle class values that may be in tension with applicants' working and middle class values. Based on our findings, we urge designers, employers, and educators to think beyond the question of whether working and middle class applicants have access to the right resources. We call for additional and necessary steps to ease applicants' burdens of leveraging these resources. For example, designers, employers, and educators can help connect working and middle-class applicants with mentors from similar social class backgrounds who can support them throughout the hiring process. Finally, these findings will be enriched by an attention to intersectionality. Future work could explore the intersectional roles of social class, gender, and race in shaping applicants' experiences of the hiring process. Future research could also investigate how the emotional taxes that working and middle-class applicants pay during the hiring process affect their subsequent experiences in the workplace. Thank you for your attention. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if you'd like to chat more about this research.